Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is the Champions Podcast. It is the Sunday night conversation with you boys, T. Drake, co-host Korey Harris. What's going on, Cole?
What's up, T? How's everybody living out there? Good to see you again, my brother.
Man, good to see you, man. Got people hopping in on that IG, man. Let's see what we got out here. Addy Baller 2029. What's going on? We got Owen. Is that Velman 29? Confidential Dre. What's going on? See you all in the building. Appreciate you all joining us for this Sunday night conversation. If you on YouTube, you are on Facebook, you are on X, you are on IG. Welcome to the Sunday night conversation with your boys once again, T. Drake and Korey Harris. You know who we are. Two familiar faces that's going to be with you every single weekend. Last weekend, it was my fault. You know, we supposed to have went on Saturday because I was traveling on Sunday, but we got it. We got it all fixed out. We got it worked. So there it is. So Cole, man, tell what's going on with you, bro.
Man, T, it's the end of the summer grind a little bit. A lot of players starting their preseason training camp on the overseas level. High school players doing their 4-on-1s and, every other level you can think of. Everybody's getting back to it, getting back in the swing of things. So I'm enjoying seeing that and anxious to see also who comes out on top this football season. My Gators got smacked. So, trying to recoup after that. So yeah, man. Yeah, I'm enjoying life, brother. What about you?
Man, it's all good, man. Wanted to give, shout out to everybody that's joining us tonight. Hey, look, go ahead and drop your comments, your questions in that chat. We're watching on IG. We're watching on all platforms. So we're gonna definitely be checking it out. If you drop something in there, we'll make sure we get it on the program. But man, Cole, your boys got whooped, man.
Molly,
what happened?
What
What happened, man?
We can't move the ball. So what they said our quarterback was like one of the most efficient in the country, right? Like
That's
highest
what they said.
completion percentage, top 10 or something like that. But we're dinking and dunking. We throwing 5-yard hitch routes and checking down. It's like we can't stretch the field, we can't protect them, then we can't run the ball. So that's a recipe for disaster. But hopefully, we bounce back. We gonna bounce back, baby.
Bro. Let me help you. They said that you all have the most hardest schedule ever in college football.
We trying to build champions, baby. You got to go through the fire. What'd you say? You got to go through the pain. Got to go through the champions pain.
Hey, you all act like y'all Nation Boy Ric Flair to beat a man. You got to beat the man.
Man, we better go get some more men. We got to recruit some men. Oh my goodness.
Boy, y'all look tough, man. Y'all gonna have a long season, man.
We're gonna be battle tested for sure. And it wasn't fun watching your quarterback on the ground screaming in the fourth quarter after you getting drummed. So, hey, man.
So let me ask you, man. Because my boys the tide roll. But what is it gonna take for the Gators to get some traction, man?
We need another face. You know what I mean? Like we need somebody to galvanize just that entire school. Like, that Tim Tebow, Chris Leak, and Urban Meyer era, obviously that's over, but it was just the aura of those individuals and their personalities and the people around. I mean, I'm sure I was too young to know who the AD was back then, but like, that it was one of those places you just wanted to be. It's like Ohio State, it's like Alabama. Like when you have that face and you have that aura around your school, you're going to get those guys. And, I think Florida is lacking that voice. It's lacking that person that kids want to play for. You know what I mean? So it's a new era anyway, just because of NIL and transfer portal. So, we're gonna need somebody who's up with the more cutting edge stuff that's happening and can speak the language of these young men.
So you mentioned something. You said the NIL, the transfer portal. During that game yesterday, man, and I kind of I was watching throughout yesterday. Did you hear this common phrase over and over again? Transfer from, transfer from, transfer from, transfer from. And it's like these teams got 30 and 40 players that are transferred in and making immediate impact. How does coaches coach that now, man? Because I know it's happening in football. We heard it all day yesterday. We know it's happening in basketball.
Right.
How does coaches coach having a new team pretty much what
Yeah.
it seems like every single year now?
Yeah. I think coaches need to spend more time studying general managers. I
Mm,
think like, knowing, okay, what's my coaching philosophy? What X's and O's are we running? Leadership principles, all that stuff is definitely important. But I think all young coaches who want to get into coaching, or even some that have been in coaching and just want, to refresh and make
mhm,
sure that they're staying up with the what's happening, you need to take a page out of like overseas general managers,
mhm,
because you don't have a cap space, so to speak. So there's not a limit to, what you can spend. Your budget might be different from another team's budget in your same conference, right? So that's pretty similar with international basketball.
mhm,
And then if you can't study that, just study GMs that are on the NFL level, the NBA level, Major League Baseball, who are dealing with some sort of a cap, because maybe you can at least say, okay, if we're operating on a budget based on our boosters and alumni, and this is what I know we have to allot to our players and our incoming recruits,
mhm,
then I need to learn like team construction. Like, what was that one movie that came out years ago with Brad Pitt? I think it was called Moneyball. How,
mhm,
that changed the trajectory of sports as a whole, but it started with the Oakland Athletics and their
mhm,
general manager understanding like analytics and how they
mhm.
should draft players, how they should, trade and value players. Like, there needs to be a revamping in college sports when it comes to how coaches as well as scouts and recruiters value talent. Like, you got to know what you're looking for if you only got 1 year from a player versus a guy that you're going to develop because you got him for multiple years. And
Mhm.
you have to also equate it to dollars. Like, it has to make sense from a financial standpoint, because you can't overspend in one area. And the worst thing I've heard was a player told me, it was on the basketball side, an ACC point guard was in the gym, and he was working out with another great trainer. But we all are, a little bit of a family at that gym, so we talk, and it's no beef. The player was sitting down. He was talking to both me and his personal coach, saying that in the office, as he was getting ready to come back and get this year's preseason started, he was negotiating his NIL. Like, they were talking about what they were going to offer him. He had to sign. And he said that the coaching staff like absolves themselves from all responsibility. Like, they said, hey, we don't have anything to do with this. If you have any questions, go to, the boosters, go to the and it's like, that can't be it. Like, that's not the way to do it. If
Yeah,
you're a coach, your thumbprint is on this team, and it has to start with where the money goes.
yeah.
Because if you don't control that, then I think it was there was a particular school this young man was at in the ACC last year where players just stopped coming to practice because they found out what their teammates were earning, and they
Wow.
were like, "Oh, I'm starting, but he's getting more than me, or I shoot the ball 20 times, and he's getting paid the same." Like, so there was a little bit of anarchy, and the coaches were just like, "Hey, it's not our fault. We don't control that. That you can't do it that way."
That is tough, man. When you think about, you know, are guys playing for the love of money now, or is the love of the
Mm.
game still there?
I
You
think the
know,
pendulum has to swing, like because it's not normal yet, and it just was introduced. There is going to be some like overreaction to, okay, we getting paid now, so let's get this money, let's get this
yeah,
bag. But once you have a generation of players, 4 to 5 years, who all were either freshmen all the way up to their senior year, they're used to it.
mhm,
Now, when the next generation comes in, it's not going to be such a like weird taboo thing. It's just understood, like, this is how it goes. So you can focus on the game if you at least understand, like, there's a scale and this is my value. Okay, I'm an undersized point guard playing in the Big Ten or the A10 or the ACC.
mhm,
What can I expect to make? Right. And
mhm.
so now there's no like arguing or negotiating. It's like, no, this is, you're a 6 foot, unathletic guard. You're on the ACC level. Like, you're going to get 350,
Yeah,
versus a 7 footer That's not a dime a dozen. You're gonna get 800. Like, I'm just throwing out numbers. I
Yeah,
don't know, but
yeah,
it's kind of like the NBA, right? Like, they're not in there just cursing each other out every time there's a contract negotiation, and there's not guys refusing to practice every single day. It's
mm,
because it's been around. It's just understood. Like, you
yeah,
get paid to play. So I think it just needs time.
yeah. And we got a lot of time in front of us with this NIL, so it's not
Yeah,
going any, yeah,
it
it's
ain't
not
going
going
nowhere.
anywhere. I say to the states, even on the high school level, who hasn't gotten on board yet, it'll behoove you, it'll be wise of you to go ahead and get on board before you lose all your good players.
Yeah, yeah. You look at Cali. I think I
Yeah,
heard Gilbert Arenas talking about, like, LA is not. It's not that LA isn't talented. It's just that the LA kids go to the Valley,
yeah,
because those schools can pay. So those private institutions who have the money to take care of kids and their families, the talent seems to be going there into the prep schools, and these
yeah.
public schools are losing. So yeah, you got to do something to give yourself a fighting chance.
You got to, because the thing about it is this, Cole. You and I, we came up, in whatever you want to say, let's just say humble beginnings.
Hmm.
All right, and it was our dream to play in the NBA, dreams to play in the NFL, for the reason of money.
Right.
We want make money, get out the hood, all those kind of things like that. And now the thing about it, Cole, is the NBA or NFL doesn't have to be your ultimate goal,
That's right.
because the desires that we had to get there to help our family can now be achieved when you get out of the 8th grade.
Right. Right. Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Big
So
facts.
it's a dynamic that is really just changed what we have known as amateurism.
Yeah.
But it's not, once again, it's not something that's going away. The states that are dragging their feet, what I'm saying, on the scholastic level, for
Hmm.
as high school, I just admonish you to go ahead and get on board, because you're going to be left behind if you don't.
Yeah.
Cole, let me ask you this, man.
Sure.
Before we get into our topic for tonight, and for those of you all that are joining in, go ahead and grab your sons, grab your daughters, because tonight's going to be a night that we're going to be talking directly to the players out there. But who do you got in the Final Four? I know we expanded the the college football playoffs
Yeah.
to 12 teams, but who do you have in the Final Four based off of what you saw week 0 and week 1?
Yeah. I like you guys.
Mhm.
As much as I hate to say it, y'all gonna be there. I like Georgia. They did what they were supposed to do, I think, against Clemson. Like, them smacking Clemson like that,
Yeah,
the way they did, you want to see the champion get knocked off, especially week 1, because it's going to be like electric. There's a chance for nerves to take over,
mhm.
but they threw all that out the window, right?
Yeah.
After that, I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. I don't know. Like, I'm a Florida fan, so I try to pay attention to my crew. We ain't in it. That's all I know.
Were you impressed with Miami?
Yeah, I was, because they were, like, throwing out some stats that I didn't know. Like, I wasn't aware that Miami had gone. I think they said it was like 20 or 30 more. It might even be 40 years since they've had a quarterback drafted. I think it's 20.
Yeah.
But I was just like, wow, like, I didn't realize they had been under kind of that spell, or I've been under that spell since growing up and seeing Ray Lewis and like all those guys come out,
Yeah.
thinking Sean Taylor and Ed Reed, like all these guys were still coming out of Miami.
Yeah.
So to see them marching down the field, getting stops, they're in enemy territory, right? And they kind of were holding their own. They had a little bit of swag to them. I do like that. I don't want to see, like, legacy programs kind of fall into the desert, to the point where, like, all right, they're irrelevant now. Like, I would love to see Miami compete,
Yeah.
just not at our expense, like not smacking us like that, dog.
They,
God, dog.
but they put the thing on y'all
Yeah,
yesterday, man.
man. Like, whew, I had my volume turned down. I'm still hearing, cats. getting like I just stopped watching after a while. I ain't even gonna lie to you, man. But for
Man,
sure though, you guys in Georgia, that's kind of my stamp that.
I got
Yeah. What about you?
you.
Any other teams?
Ohio State,
Okay.
Ohio State got to be up there. Georgia, I'm a roll with my home team, Bama,
Hmm. Hmm.
and just off of week one, I know we got a game tonight. I think it might be on, and then there's a game tomorrow night. Florida State, I think it's tomorrow. But man, it is hard to not put Miami up in there
You
and see
think so?
it is hard based off of what they did to you guys yesterday.
Oh, oh,
But it's
man,
all
look.
good, though. It's all good. So, hey, look, thank you all so much for tapping into the Sunday night conversation. Next week we'll be up against next week we'll be going on Saturday night. I'll be traveling on Sunday. So what we're gonna do whenever I'm traveling or Korey's traveling on Sunday, the podcast take place on Saturday night. So we'll be diving into the conversation on next Saturday. But tonight, go ahead and pull your son, pull your daughter. Tonight's conversation is about players. Last week, or the week before that, it was about the parents, and we're going to be swapping every weekend back and forth until we get through all of the things that we have on our docket to get through. But want to talk tonight about frustrations, desires, and fears. That's pretty much how we do on both sides for the parents and the players. Frustrations, desires, fears. Those three things are going to be our key points over the next couple of weeks, over the next couple of months, really. And under those three things, we have a gambit and a lot of different conversations and things to talk about. But let me just tell you tonight, number one, frustration in a player's heart or in their mind, missing crucial shots. Okay, desires, making game-winning plays, and fears, suffering career-ending injury. All right. Now that when the fears is going to tie into a little bit of what we talked about on the last time when we talked about the parents. But let's dive right into this. Let me check IG. We got a lot of people tuning in with us tonight on IG. We got quite a few people on Instagram, IG, Facebook, YouTube, and on X. So go ahead. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's jump into this conversation. Cole, the frustration of players missing crucial shots. How does this play a part in players, whether it's a high school, AAU,
Hmm.
and it doesn't, and it is not limited or to any one level.
Yeah.
Players of all levels outside of what we hear from Kobe, outside of what we've heard from MJ, outside of what we hear from guys that just have that killer mindset. How do kids deal with missing crucial shots?
Yeah, man. I think this is a huge frustration that plagues a lot of players, right? I think a lot of us, we want to talk about the positives. We want to focus on, the great moments in sports that bring us all together. But I think something that also unites us is the fact that we at times fall short, right? And that's what makes sports so exciting. It's the thrill of success and also potentially, defeat. As a coach and as a skill development trainer, a lot of times you can tell when you've worked with a client who is struggling in this area, right? It's almost like a lack of desire to touch like a wound or like a scab, you know. Like for instance, I could be working, with a player who's struggling to make shots. Like maybe they have a hitch in their shot or they have, a kink, something they're trying to work out. And I noticed that when they have to train or work on that shot in a gym full of other people,
Yeah.
right? It could even be someone at the highest level, the pro level. They tend to shrink
Mhm.
and they tend to at times get emotional, you
Mhm.
know, like even in workouts, like, want to punt the ball to the other side of the court, or, they say things or they curse themselves, or they just show you that they don't have a lot of emotional security
Mhm.
to like just keep working through it. So that's one instance where I see it a lot is like they don't want to work out in front of people. They might want to work out like earlier in the morning when the gym's empty, or they want to work out late. I've even heard NBA coaches in just private conversations tell me that they have players who actually are, some of them are very good players, respected in the league, whether that be NBA or WNBA. And they'll say that those players won't work out with the staff after practice. They prefer to come back at night once everybody has left, because maybe they're trying to get better at corner threes, or they want to get better at, making shots under duress or contested. And so I think it's just a human nature type thing. Like it's very natural. I don't want to dive into like a lot of the solutions and things like that until I kind of kick it back to UT. Like, how have you seen it play out? Like, do you cross this frustration a lot with players? Is it something that you've witnessed in your ventures as a coach and as a trainer?
So dive into this conversation. Shout out to my man DJ Sundy once again tuning in with us, man. We definitely appreciate the love. We'll have to get him on the show with us. We're talking tonight about frustration, desires, fears. We're dealing with the first wave of this in regards to frustration and missing, and for a player, a fear of missing crucial shots. The thing about it is this, Cole, that somebody has to take the tough shots. We hear about the quote that Michael Jordan, had at one point. Right. I've been entrusted to take this many number of games, game-winning shots. I've missed this many number of game-winning shots. We look at the Kobe's, we look at the KD's, we look at the great ones that we talked about earlier, that's getting paid that upper echelon, or who's looked at to take those shots. But when we're talking about kids on the high school level, who are playing in front of friends, still dealing with a lot of peer pressure, still dealing with how am I looking? They're concerned about their image and different things like that. I've seen literally good players defer in huddles to other players in real crucial moments and crucial situations. My question is, what is it about that fear, other than the fear of being looked upon or talked about amongst their peers, is the reason why they don't want to step up and take that shot? We used to talk about, coming up, Cole, man, we had guys like, yo, I want that ball. I want that ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, no, I got this. I got this. Make or miss, I got this. And, it's kind of like the players that kind of shy away from that responsibility, where growing up did that fear of messing up. Because this is something that especially when I'm training new people. One of the first things that I say after I say the quote, everybody wants to champion's power, but nobody wants to champion's pain. I talk to them about this. I tell them this: don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Right.
Because it's when your mistakes is where you grow.
Yeah.
And I think that in the world where we're putting out in social media all of our success, because let's think about it. How many highlight tapes, how many training tapes have you seen where, okay, he missed the shot or they lost the ball? That happens more times than this brief clip of the crossover, the combo move, going down the Euro step and finishing, going out, running around the cone, catching, popping for the shot. You know how many takes that take?
But T, that's why the highlight tape is 1 minute or a minute 30. The workout was an hour. You know what I mean?
That's it. So we even train because we want likes, we want clicks. We even train with the mindset of, I gotta be perfect.
Right.
I gotta do this. I gotta do this. I gotta do this for perfection because the lights are on me.
Right.
That's one aspect of it. And then like the song, shine bright like a diamond. At the end of the day, Cole, everybody's not made for the bright lights.
Right.
And we got Jewel, who says, my coach tells me that all the time. Appreciate you joining in, Jules. Appreciate you joining in, Jamal Cover. one of the young top prospects coming up in the state of Alabama. But Cole, man, think about it. How many times do we have to deal with failures? Because this is the thing. The fear that kids have for missing crucial shots, it comes from the fact that we have not done a good enough job as coaches, trainers, and I'm gonna even say parents sometimes in helping kids deal with failure.
Correct.
And so when you've grown up, you know what I'm saying, third grade, fourth grade, because this is the thing, goes back to what we talked about before. How many failures does a kid go through at school, but come home, laughed at, talked about, come home and never able to share that with their parents so that their parents can make sure that they guide them through the journey of failure. So when we don't have people that guide us through the journey of failure, then we don't want to take the last second shot. We don't want to take the shot that'll tie the game. Right. And it goes back to, like I said a couple of weeks ago, of course, I failed in the 5th grade running for president and decided I'm never going to run for anything ever again because I never had anybody to help me and walk me through the failure. Now, I know we're talking basketball, but this right now, when we're having these frustrations with kids and not being able to handle their frustration, it turns into adults who who don't know how to deal with failure.
That's right.
And so then, because the stakes are a lot higher when we're adults and we haven't learned how to deal with failure as an adult. So how do we help our kids outside of talking, having honest conversations about their failures? How did it make you feel? How did it make you feel when people laughed at you? Okay, how did it make you feel when you were in that moment and you did not, you know what I'm saying, accomplish the goal that you wanted? You failed at this.
Right.
You know, and then hearing their side of the story and being able to say, okay, first of all, let me say this. You as a because this is what happens a lot of times. When kids fail, guess what they do? They internalize it and say, I am a failure. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes we have to make sure that failure is understood, that you are not a failure. You may have failed, but you are not a failure. But left unchecked, they walk around internalizing failure as that's who they are.
Right.
And so, okay, I'm a failure. I don't want to take this last second shot. I know I can make it. I know I've worked on it in training, but I don't want to be the person that misses it.
Right. No, I agree 100%. So you asked the question, like, how do we develop them? How do we help them if this is what they're struggling with? And for all the players out there that are watching this, or parents that are watching this, I hope that you guys can take what we're saying, even if you have to write it down, type it in your phones. I hope that you can act on some of these things, because we're here to be vulnerable with you guys. And if you have a comment or an experience you like to, phrase a question with, like, this is the time to do it. So T, I'm gonna actually just bring it home as far as how I dealt with it, because I had that stage fright as a player, as a collegiate player. So, struggled with, I could practice all day, train all day, get into a game, like my freshman year playing JUCO in one of the best conferences in the country. And we actually played in the same conference as the school that was featured on Last Chance U. Mm-hmm. So, guys going from my school to Division I was not a rare thing. Like, our coach had coached and developed NBA players before me. So we had D1s coming in our practice on a daily. There was a lot of pressure. I think before I had gotten there, they had won 17 conference championships in a row. So it was just expected that we were going to be the 18th. Mm-hmm. Long story short, it took me till like my sophomore going into my junior year to figure it out. So this freshman, sophomore, 2 years of like literally handshaking before the game. Like, if I catch the ball, like, I know what to do mentally, but I couldn't make my body do it. Sometimes I would feel like I had cinder blocks on my feet, like make a pass, but like hesitate halfway through, turn it over, go to shoot it. You're trying to come down because, oh man, like, what if I miss? And then you end up airballing. Like, just looking like you should never play the game.
Yeah.
From that to then being a team captain, playing in a national championship on a D3 level and becoming an All-American. How? The first step was I had to realize that it is a gift. So the very first step for every player out there watching this and any parent watching this is it's not about trying to change your behavior. You have to first of all focus on you, who you are, the person, your identity, how you see yourself, and then that will change how you see the opportunity. So first I had to realize that like I was called to play. Like this wasn't an accident. This wasn't happenstance. This even it wasn't even something I earned. It was I saw myself as someone who was chosen. The work I was doing now was not to prove anything. It was to be aligned with my purpose. Like, okay, Lord, if you gave me this opportunity, I want to make sure I make the most of it. So now I'm thinking, or excuse me, I'm being thankful for the oxygen in my lungs while they're singing the national anthem. I'm being thankful for the opportunity to put on a jersey while we're going through the huddle and dapping up our teammates, or they're calling our names out as we go to shake the referee's hand. I'm thanking them literally just for the chance to suit up. So now, because I'm starting with gratitude, I'm removing the nerves. You can't be nervous and be grateful at the same time. You can say thank you to someone and be nervous, but to truly be grateful, to understand that like this is not promised, is to be present. And so like that was what I had to learn to do was my gratitude made me present, which made me more aware of where I am, not thinking about, and this is number two, when it comes to fear and nerves, you can't be so caught up in what will happen if you fail. It hasn't happened yet. That's the future. So it doesn't exist. And anything that you have fallen short in the past is the past. It's not the present. So that no longer exists either. You only have a current now. Like even the words I've said in the last 10 seconds, they're the past. All we have is the ever present now. So we're constantly in a state of now. Even as soon as I say now, it's not now anymore. Right? So when you live in a constant state of now and you're present, it's like when you hear I forgot what the guy's name was, but he used to do the broadcasting for the Lakers way back in the day. And he would talk about, you can smell the popcorn popping and this and that and da, 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 da. It's like, if you can't smell popcorn, you're not present. If you can't feel the ground under your feet, you're not present. If you can't have a conversation with your teammate and make eye contact with him before the game starts because your eyes are darting all around, you're looking in the stands, you're nervous, oh, there's a coach watching, you're not present. You know, if you can't sing with the music, you know, that's blasting. Like I've seen players, they couldn't even tell you like what we talked about at halftime because they're not present. They forget plays when they come out of the huddle. Why? They weren't present. They're thinking about something else, right? So great gratitude, presence of mind. That is also understanding the future doesn't exist. The past is gone. So you can't do anything with that. Being ever present. And then the next thing was every opportunity that I was given to shoot the last shot or to make a play, that in itself, I need to fail. Like, I don't want to say you need to fail, but that's it. Basically, you have to fail forward. Like, if you don't lose at one point in your life, how do you know what a win is? Everything has an opposite side. It's the law of polarity. For every action, there's a reaction. Like, there's no such thing as a one-sided coin. For every head, there's a tails. So if I truly want to become successful, I'm going to have to go through some sort of adversity, some sort of trial and test. And I'm also going to have to fall short in an area so that I can learn how to regroup and then approach it differently. And I think players, it's pros all the way down, they avoid that feeling because they don't understand the importance of it. They don't understand that it's actually necessary. It's actually needed. If all we had was the positive side of a nucleus and we didn't have any negatives, the whole universe would just like completely dissipate. Like everything would just break apart. If there was no gravity pulling me down, then how could Michael Jordan be considered amazing or Zion be considered amazing? We need gravity to allow him to do what he does, or all of us would just be floating. Like there has to be an opposing force that comes against you to build you into who it is you want to be. You lift weights. That weight is trying to crash down on you. You're resisting it as you push it back up. So getting in the gym, or even just being in a game situation where there's the threat of making or missing that shot, you need that in order to be a great player. You need people to talk ish about you. You need people to come against you in order for you to turn into who it is that you see in your mind right now. You're not going to become that individual, that player, if you don't go through this. So a lot of times when I work with players, like you said, T, like we'll be in the gym and they'll want to work on certain things that they know they're going to have to do in a game, but they don't want to do it with the threat of failing. Like if I say you got to make 8 out of 10, I see a player's countenance like, oh man, okay. Like I ain't even passed you the ball yet. And because I said you got to make 8 out of 10 movement threes, you're already thinking failure.
Yeah.
And I'll say this and I'll kick it back to you, brother. We resonate with whatever we've experienced the most. So a lot of people, players and parents, because they have seen someone else miss that shot and what happened to them when they missed it, or they themselves have experienced some type of failure in the past, just as you described when you talked about running for office when you were in grade school and you fell short. We tend to now place that same, we place that same expectation on this new thing, this new opportunity. And so we go into these different opportunities, not viewing them as opportunities, we view them as setups. Like, oh man, I'm really back here again. Like, come on. Like now we want to pass the ball. Now we want to, hey coach, no, let so-and-so get the last shot. Or we don't even get, I've seen players not even get a shot off. I think Magic Johnson, they don't talk about this much, but Magic Johnson had appearances in the conference finals as well as the finals where last shot, he didn't even get it up. Didn't even get it out of his hands. But what do we talk about when we talk about Magic Johnson? We're not talking about that. We talk about how great he was.
Yeah.
Steph Curry has the NBA record for most missed threes, consecutively missed threes in a game.
Yes.
And I think it was the same week or the next game, he broke the record for most consecutively made threes. So it takes an elite level mindset, but I'm telling you, as someone who came from a dark place where I was depressed and I wanted to quit the game of basketball, you don't start off by trying to change your habits. You can't change your behavior and think that that's going to give you confidence. You have to, first of all, do the inner work and understand, like, no, you were put in this position for a reason. Be grateful for this opportunity and live in the ever present now. So when you miss a shot or make a shot, you're no worse than you were before. And if you make it, you ain't no better than you were before. That mindset actually helps you to remain humble. And to understand who you are at all times.
So that's good, man. And shout out to my guy DJ Sandy. You know, I know I talk about him a lot, but he stays locked in with us. But he was like, we taking that last second shot. But you know, his boys, especially Drake, man, he is just of a different kind.
Yeah,
as the Kendrick Lamar song goes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's of a different kind. So he has that mindset because he's been trained and equipped to do that.
Right.
But this is what I would like to say as we get ready to move to desires. As a parent, some of the reasons why your son or your daughter fears missing crucial shots is because of the pressure that is put on them from their parents.
Oh yeah,
and I would like to venture to say, don't put the pressure on if you're not willing to go to the opposite end and walk with them, opposite end of the spectrum, and walk with them in love when they fail.
All right, that's right.
Because some of us, you know, some parents put the pressure on and then they miss it and they're totally upset, don't want to talk in the car, throwing their hands up. How could you? Instead of in those moments is a reason why the love of the parent. See, this is why at some point, players begin they tune parents out.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll hear parents say they don't listen to me anymore.
Right.
Maybe it's because in the moment they needed you as a parent, you was applying that pressure
Yeah.
as a
You became a critic.
yeah, you know what I'm saying, whatever. So if you're not willing to walk with them in love through the failures, don't put the level of pressure on them. And then Nick Saban used to always say this: be where your feet are, be
Mm-hmm.
where your feet are, and win your square. Win your
Yep.
square. Goes back to what you're saying: be in the moment. Be in the
Mm-hmm.
moment. All right. So now we talked about the frustration. We talked about the frustration of missing crucial shot as a player. Now the desire. Let's deal with the desire portion of it. Making game-winning plays. How many? Now, it sounds crazy, but we just talked about the fear of missing
Yeah.
crucial shots. But
Yeah.
in their heart, they want to make game-winning plays.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a real balance. Like
Yeah.
which are you gonna allow to win internally?
Yeah.
Your fears or your desires?
Yeah. But
And
that's where the frustration comes from. Is the
yeah,
desire is so strong to be the guy or the woman that, leads your team to victory. So of course, if you fall short, you're
yeah.
gonna have a negative response.
I got. We got people tuning in all kinds of ways. Cole, I got a text message here. How can you often be the player that's not trusted to be on the court during the game, but trusted to be the player to take the final shot?
He said, "How often
Yeah,
can you?"
how can you often be the player that's not trusted to be on the court during the game, but you're trusted to be the player to take the final shot? Meaning they trust you to be, you know what I'm saying, to get in the game at the end and take the final shot, but they don't trust you throughout the course of the game to play a
Oh,
consistent role.
so that doesn't happen very often, and I'm gonna just give my opinion on it and explain why I think it doesn't happen often. There's very few specialists in anything, not just basketball, but in any area of life. When I say specialist, I mean like a Steve Kerr. You know what I mean? Steve Kerr didn't always start for the Chicago Bulls. He didn't always start for the San Antonio Spurs. In these different places that he made a living or he even became legend in, we think like, yeah, he was on that team, so therefore he played like 30 minutes a game. No, it wasn't always the case. The Bulls played Ron Harper, and excuse me if I'm forgetting like which teams it was, because
Yeah.
we kind of blend all of those three-peat teams together, those two three-peat teams together. But Steve Kerr, I'm gonna say this: he was trusted because of the moments where he did have an opportunity. He was consistently proving himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't always when cameras are on. That's in practice. That's in showing up on time. That's in understanding your job. That's in being supportive of your teammates. That's in, knowing your plays. It's in probably lifts, where no one's making you go as hard as you can, but you're doing it. Why? Because you understand that you have value on this team. You have value within this organization, and your time is coming. But it takes a true, I don't want to say vet, because we could be talking to high school kids, we could be talking to middle school kids right now, it could be, whatever age group. But it takes a very strong-minded individual with also a strong support system, like good parents, like you were talking about, T, who can explain that to a kid when maybe they're too young to understand that, like, okay, son, you're only playing 10 minutes a game, but you don't know when those 10 minutes are going to come,
Mm-hmm.
right? So being able to knock down that big free throw or knock down that corner three, sometimes the game winning play has nothing to do with offense. It could be taking a charge. It could be stopping the other team's player from going to their dominant hand and forcing them to take a tough shot. It could be just being in the right position on help defense and getting that deflection. But when you are consistently understanding that your job is just as important as someone else's that plays a lot of minutes, you put yourself in that rare category of people who can be trusted. So last year I had the chance to coach at Mount Pisgah Christian School here in Georgia, and we made a run to the Final Four. And we didn't have any kids who were ranked top 100 before the season started. None of our kids had offers. There were a lot of other good teams in our particular region who were already like ranked, and they said they're going to go to the Final Four. We weren't even supposed to make the state playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we made it was because of a young man by the name of Tommy Smith. We had kids who were freshmen that were playing minutes at times. We called one of these kids, his nickname was P-Dog. He wasn't even, I don't even know if he's 5'5", but he knew every play. He knew where to be all the time. He was early for workouts. He was early for practice. He stayed after every single practice, whether it was ball handling, shooting. Cam Gaines, another freshman who played big time for us. Now, these guys, Bramir, another big time player for us, came off the bench. These guys are just as important to me as Jackson Williams, O'Neal Connolly, Tyson Pittman, and the other guys that started. But because they, first of all, decided within themselves that my value is not connected to my minutes, and I'm buying into the role that Coach Jay Sloan and Coach Korey gave me, like I'm really a part of this team. I'm not going to look down on myself because I'm not getting all the shots. Now they shined in those moments when we were making our march into March. And Tommy Smith locked down the other team's opposing best scorers. Why? Because he thought in his mind, I'm the best defender in the state. Bramir came off the bench and led our second unit and dropped dimes and pressured 94 feet. Why? Because we told him, you're the best on-ball defender in the state and you're our best decision maker. Now, there were times where he was crying because he wasn't getting the playing time he wanted. Tommy Smith thought about quitting the team at one point in the season because he wasn't getting the shots he wanted. We had some angry parents, but it took those kids staying ready. So to go back to the question, I don't think that's normal. What those kids did and what Steve Kerr did and what so many other great players on all these different levels do by coming in and being ready in those moments, even though they don't play majority minutes, you got to be a special individual and you have to also have a special support system. And as a coach, you have to be a special coach to still get that buy-in from that player. So I don't want to diminish it as if like it never happens, but it takes the right combination. It's secret sauce, man. You gotta have some people behind you, but also you gotta be one of one to be that type of player.
Yeah, because there are, unfortunately there are some players that and like I tell people all the time, a lot of people want to start.
For sure.
A lot of people want to start, want to be the first five. But if you had the choice to be the first five or to be part of that last five that's in the end of the game in crucial moments, if you had to make a choice, which one would you make?
I want to finish that game, baby.
I want to finish the game. It's about the ones that finish. You know what I'm saying? So, that's a thing, something that we can continue to move on. I think a listener to be able to who's tuning in tonight to send that message via through text.
Great question.
Great question. But the desires, making game-winning plays. Let me ask you this, Korey. How many kids, growing up, no trainers whatsoever, what are we doing? We toss the ball out when we, in the court. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
And we shooting game winning. You know what I'm saying? We've all had that desire. We all have been built up, whether it's basketball or football, catching a game-winning touchdown or whatever the situation might be. When Tua came in and threw that touchdown pass, in that championship game to D. Smith, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've all had those moments that we desired. But making game-winning plays goes back to, like you saying, showing that you've been trusted, first of all, to have to be able to take that play or make that play. But also at the same time, you said something that was so key. The shot is not always, it may be what everybody sees that won the game, but it's a lot of things probably 2 minutes prior to that and things like that, defensive stops, charges, rebound that saved the game or was the game-winning play that I think sometimes we get so focused on the last shot that we don't think about the charge or the help side defense. That had they not done that, we wouldn't even be in position to win this game.
Exactly.
So for kids that are that their desires is making game-winning plays, My encouragement for you as we get ready to embark upon the season in about 30, 45 days, the start of the season, think about how can you make game-winning plays beyond scoring. And that is my challenge to you. What does it look like to make game-winning plays beyond scoring?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on that, Cole?
No, I love that. I think a few things. So number one, I remember the first time I made a game winner. It wasn't even like at the buzzer. It was a go-ahead shot, with a little bit of time left, and then they inbounded it, and of course they couldn't get a good shot up. I remember before that, I had wanted to be in that moment, and I didn't realize, to your point, that I had already been in some of those moments. But as a point guard, I didn't know how to manage the game so that we could have the opportunity. And so I think a lot of kids need to learn time and score. So, for instance, like if we're up 8 with 2 minutes to go and we're inbounding the ball, we have momentum. I'm gonna just be honest. I've seen kids like in that same situation come down the court, and in the first 6 seconds of the shot clock, like they shoot it like they're down 8.
Mhm.
They just take the first thing available, and they have no idea that like they've just given the other team a breath of life. The other team comes down, they might get a layup. Now they're down 6. Now their bench is up, their energy is up. If you're at their place, their crowd is up, so they're pressuring. Now you feel the pressure to try to go and score quickly again, right? Because they're speeding up your offense. You go and take a bad shot, or you guys don't get a good look, you turn it over, they come back down. Now they score or get fouled, both and one. Now all of a sudden, what went from an 8-point game could be a game of just 2 possessions or a single possession game. And so players want to make the last shot. And I've even seen guys like basically lose an 8-point lead just to make a game-winning shot, a go-ahead bucket, and be excited. Like, yeah. And as a coach, I'm like, no, you should have never even been in that situation. A game-winning play in that situation, up 8, would have been to just manage the clock, shoot even if we don't get a great shot, but we get something up with less than 8 seconds. Now they have to push it. The pressure's on them to score, and we're basically just like choking them to death, right?
Yeah.
Like they fighting against the clock and us. So those were things I didn't understand. Like I didn't fully get the way that you can position yourself as a player to be in those situations, especially like, all right, let's flip it. If you're down, right? Like let's say you're down 16 and you want to chip away to put yourself in a situation now to make a game-winning play. Well, it doesn't start when you guys are down 1 with 30 seconds to go and it's just you at the top of the key hailing a rock for the last shot. It's when you're down 16. How are you guys managing the foul count? Are you driving and putting pressure on them so you can get in the bonus, so that you can stop the clock while you shoot free throws? Are you taking good shots, or are you trying to hit home runs now every time you're on offense? What are you doing on defense? Like a lot of those things, I think you see the best players, they always position their teams to either avoid giving the other team the opportunity to make a game winner, or they always are putting themselves in a position against a better team to be in the game so that they do have the chance to game them, right?
Yeah.
And then another important thing outside of time and score, T, I think is conditioning. God, dog, like I remember there were times as a player where I want to make plays in the fourth. We had halves when I played in college, right? So, I want to make plays in the last 8 minutes of the half, but like I honestly just didn't know how I was supposed to be conditioning in the summer, and into the fall, like so that I could still have those legs. I'm gonna tell you one mistake I made. That at one point in time I overtrained. So when the season would start, I was in like game 7 shape in September, October. Like we in preseason workouts and practices, and I'm feeling like Jordan. Like I'm destroying my teammates, right? Talking crazy. My body feels great. Like, might put on a few pounds. Then you get to December, January, you play conference play for high schoolers as region play. Oh, I'm shot.
Yeah.
I'm shot. Like tendonitis flaring up, your knees hurt, your feet breaking down, all that. Well, there's a lot of players out there who's watching this.
Mm-hmm.
You need to learn how to ramp up your conditioning properly.
Mm-hmm.
It's not work until, like, we got to be in the gym 4 or 5 hours a day every day during the summer. Why? Because I want to make the game winning shot when the season comes. Okay, cool. Your first 8 games of the season, you're probably going to be looking like LeBron out there. But what are you going to do when it's now winning time as far as playing into the postseason?
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, a lot of guys, this is where I also made a mistake. A lot of guys don't condition properly during the season.
Mm-hmm.
So they train properly in the off season, they're prepared, and then they get into their school year, and now you don't continue to like maintain what you've developed.
Mm-hmm.
So you got schoolwork, you got homework and practice, and now you're traveling for games, and maybe you got other things going on. Well, how are you still making sure that you're at a peak level?
Yeah.
Are you getting sleep? Are you eating properly? Are you stretching? Are you still doing your routines, your ball handling, your shooting, and running a little bit if you need it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think those things come into play when it comes to preparing yourself overall for that moment to make plays. And like you mentioned, Terry, like if it's not offensively and it's not scoring, conditioning is the biggest thing, right? Because defensively, stopping another guy who's their primary weapon down late in the stretch in the fourth quarter in a crucial game situation, it's just about you being in shape. Like, how you gonna turn them 3, 4, 5 times before you cross half court and turn it
Yeah.
over if you out of gas?
Yeah.
So I think that's huge.
That's huge. And I was checking the phone to see because this all moves us right into the next segment, which is fears. And one thing I always say is the best way to get in shape is to never get out of shape.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's one of the things that, I always stress that cardio, you one thing you can always be in control of is entering every game being the best in shape. You can always be in control of your cardio. But I was looking for the last text that you sent. I don't know if it was you sent it via text or you sent it via email in regards to what the Golden State Warriors did in regards to the test that they did in regards to rest.
Yeah.
Because it goes to the fears of suffering career-ending injuries. And I know that, we talked about this before on the parents episode, but the players' fears of suffering career-ending injuries. And most of that comes with the fact that most injuries come when you're tired or when you have not properly prepared your body for the physicality, the grind, and just the toll that a season takes on your body. Right. Now we're living in times where we see real freak accidents with ACLs and things like that. So I remember one guy. I was watching baseball for the Braves. I think he was the shortstop for the Braves. Maybe he may have been the shortstop, but he was on second base, took a couple of steps, and just went down. Not saying he wasn't in shape or anything, but there are freak injuries happen.
For sure.
But we know that a lot of kids, like I'm gonna tell you this. When I was playing, one thing that I, in people around, man, we don't want to be going in for a layup or a dunk and someone take your legs out from under.
Yeah.
That is one of the most scariest things that
bogus.
Man, that is crazy. But to help players tonight as we get ready to deal with this last topic and suffering in regards to suffering career-ending injuries, is how are you taking care of your body right now? Right. Once again, like I said, October 15th is right around the corner. For the third Monday in October is right around the corner. How are you taking care of your body? Are you resting? Going back to what you said, Cole, you was just always moving, going. You was ready. You know what I'm saying? But are you resting your body? And I'm gonna be honest with I was in the gym today, and an older gentleman said I took 2 days off. He said he took 2 days off because we're in this society of no days off. You know what I'm saying? Every single day you got to be doing something. He said
Yeah.
he took 2 days off, got back in the gym, and they say he feels wonderful.
Yeah.
One thing that I see players that they do not do is they do not rest. And when you do not rest and your body is in a state of feeling like it's just down and drained, it's more susceptible to injuries.
For
What are your
sure.
thoughts on that?
No, I agree on it 100%. I suffered I had a lot of injuries as a player, but two of them were related to a lack of rest. The first one was a Liz Frank fracture in my left foot. So basically, like a stress fracture that went across, well, I don't know, it was my second metatarsal or whatever you call it, one of my toes, right? It was a crack in it. The second injury had a fracture that went across my tibia in my lower left leg. Those could be connected, but honestly, I was just a guy, like you said, T, like I just didn't believe in rest. And so I didn't even realize my foot was broken until I went to make a cut and my foot felt like, you have an arch. It felt like it just like was flat. It just collapsed, right? And I couldn't like there was no power in my foot. And then with the tibia, I knew my leg was hurting
Mm.
for weeks, but I was playing through it because I was having the best stretch of games I had ever had in my career, and I just didn't want it to stop. And I was getting pressured full court, and I'm thinking like, all right, I'm about to just Mark Jackson the ball all the way down until I can initiate the offense because I couldn't blow by the guy. And I went to plant my left foot in the ground, and I just collapsed.
Mm.
My coach knew I was hurt before that. I knew I was hurt before that, but neither one of us wanted to accept it,
Mm.
because I just wasn't the guy that was going to come out of the game. And so I'll say this, I don't think that career ending injuries are as prevalent as some parents or players think they are. Like, we live in a time where, man, recovery and the science behind it is at an all-time high. The way that they can perform surgeries and different procedures to bring people back is just amazing. We're blessed to live in a time like we are now, where 30, 40 years ago, if you tore your ACL, you were done.
Mm.
They would call it, he
Blew
popped
out his
his
knee.
knee.
Blew
Yeah,
out
he
his knee.
blew out his knee. Like
Yeah.
something so generic as that. It's like, no, is it LCL, MCL, PCL, ACL? Like now we're so specific with it. Why? Because we know how to attack it.
Yeah.
And there's even free content online like GBG Hoops. Shout out to Coach, I think his name is Coach Mike. Great dude. He works with Drew Holiday, Fred Van Fleet. Good follow on Instagram. He's always posting free content. Shout out to the OG Alan Stein with Stronger Team, who used to always put out content when Kevin Durant, Victor Oladipo, and all those guys were his clients.
Yeah.
What am I trying to say? There's no excuse now not to be informed on how to take care of your body. And I think if you're watching this as a parent or a coach or a parent, it's up to you to like prioritize things before they happen. Like, don't do things out of fear. Like, don't work out because you're afraid of an injury, but
Mhm.
just understand that, like, the more preparation you can put in, just like we talked about, like shooting the last shot, if you're taking that shot with confidence and under duress and pressure on a regular basis, you're probably going to feel more confident in the game. So if I'm building my lower body, like I'm working on my feet, like
Mhm.
me and my wife left the gym a few hours ago, we trained together. Like I work out barefoot, well, at least with socks on, because I don't want to scare the people in the gym. I'm gonna be real to you. You know what I mean? I keep the socks on. But I'll wear like toe spacers in between my toes because of what I learned when I was recovering from my foot fracture.
Mhm.
I'll focus the first 30 minutes where I used to just go straight to, bench press and everything we do as men
Mhm.
to working on things that don't look like they make much of a difference, but it helps my knees, it helps my hips, it helps
Mhm.
my range of motion, my stability, like all of that.
Mhm.
Are you working on landing? Like you want to jump higher as a player, but do you know how to come down properly?
Mhm.
Are you working on holding a position where we box out and yeah, that takes force to hit someone, but like, can you sit in a stance when there's pressure or weight sitting on top of you,
Mhm.
and not like cave your back or turn somewhere where you're going to be feeling awkward and probably get hurt.
Mhm.
So I think it's I don't think we should be afraid of career ending injuries because I think unless it's like head trauma or
Mhm.
something to the neck, like those things, those are life threatening. But everything else, man, I've broke fingers. I know you've had stuff like I've torn ligaments, I've torn my hip. Like I, I'm still able to get up and down the floor with my clients.
Yeah.
So I think it's just more so understanding that injury prevention
Mhm.
is now, it's not a wave, it's a part of this, like it's a part of development, and you have to invest in it and you have to want to learn it, and it's important, it's key. But yes, rest, proper eating, those things also are a part of injury prevention as well.
Yeah, and let me just say this because we see it so much now. When we're dealing with these, you mentioned it too in regards to head traumas, concussions. I want to just say that, you know, be very careful with the concussions
Yeah.
because we really do not know what they're doing to our players. And I'm sorry, I know we got players. The conversation for tonight is dealing with players, and parents on, coaches on. We have to do a better job when it comes to concussion
Yeah,
protocol.
for sure.
Because even though we're not in football, some of the concussion protocols in basketball, they're not the best.
Right. Terrible.
Yeah, they're not
Terrible.
the best. So whenever it comes to, because we're always constantly getting elbowed, things like
Hmm.
that, and we see after, like you say, we've been in situations where we've been injured, or maybe I've seen players where they've had concussions and they continue to play,
Right.
and it doesn't end up well for them very long, and that now those are things that can be career-ending injuries.
That's right.
So we have to, at the first sign of a concussion, to be very more cautious, especially with basketball, because I've seen some kids out there on the bench dazed, and they just go get
Yeah.
some water, sit on the bench for a few minutes, and then the coach calling their number again.
Right.
And you can
Right.
obviously tell that the kid it should not be back out there. But once again, we're in situations where they're in a high level competitive game, and
Yeah,
this kid needs to go. And
for
so we
sure.
just got to do a better job in regards to that, because sometimes, um, you know, it's not that immediate impact. It's
Right. Right.
after
It's after effects.
after effects that is really damaging, or
See,
that
can I add something real quick?
go ahead.
I need all the players watching this, no matter how old you are, to invest in a few things. And parents, obviously, if you have a young child who they can't go to the store on their own and purchase things, they don't have money like that, make this list. This could be a birthday present, it could be Christmas, it could be, something you just give them because they're going back to playing this year. I
And I'll
think,
say this, coach. Let me say
go
this:
ahead.
you get a list to all the audience, to everyone that's tune in tonight to the podcast. I
For
will
sure.
make sure. Once again, we will post again. Like I said, I've been looking for. I can't find it, but coach, send me. I will post the article about the Golden State
Oh,
Warriors,
yeah.
and
Yep.
I will post the list that Corey's about to give right now. Go ahead, coach.
For sure. So and this is, again, this is not out of fear, but this is just maintenance. This is how to take care of your body. And the earlier your kids learn this, parents, players, if you're watching this, the earlier you learn these habits, you're going to have a longer career if you want to have a long career. The first one is toe spacers. You probably never heard of those, but toe spacers, they will change your athleticism. They will take away a lot of the pain that you younger players are experiencing, like with your jumper's knee or Osgood slaughter or your like patella tendonitis that you're feeling in the front of your knee as you're growing. What it does is, if you take my hand here and look at it like a foot, like, so this is my big toe, so on and so forth, all the way down to my pinky toe. When you're wearing shoes, your shoes are locking your toes and they're squeezing them together like this. Your toes were made to be like this, like my hand is now. And what that does is it allows the rest of your foot to operate the way that it was created to. When your foot is squeezed in a position here, it puts more pressure on the arch, which also impacts the ankle. That's why we have a lot of ankle sprains going on. And your body's a chain, so it flows up to the knee joint and to the hip. When you wear toe spacers, it allows now your muscles, your ligaments, and your tendons in your foot to all be strengthened the way that they were supposed to be. So just wearing them 15 minutes a day with no shoes on, walking around the house, or even when you do your weight room stuff and you're working out on your lower body, your legs, that will help. And it doesn't matter the age. It's not something you got to like wait until you're done developing to do. It'd actually be great if everybody started while they were young.
Now,
So
coach,
toe spacers.
you might need, if you haven't already, put some videos out on that one.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure, definitely. But this is all stuff I've gotten from other experts.
Mhm.
So toe space is number one. Number two, resistance bands. Like if you can get yourself like a thick, heavy resistant band so that you can lay down and like stretch, you put your foot in one side of the loop, right? You might hold the other side of the loop with two hands, or you can even lay down and put it behind your neck. You see NBA players, college players doing this before games. There's even good high school programs who you'll see like before the game, they'll have some players laying on the sideline while the other ones are dribbling, but they'll do like a hip complex or a hamstring complex with this. This is great for those of you guys who have tight hips and tight hamstrings, right? Get a good resistance band so you can work on not just like getting stronger, but just being more mobile. Then like a small resistance band. You see some of the ladies, they wear them around their knees when they doing like they booty workouts. That ain't what I'm trying to get y'all to do. I don't care about that. I'm talking about those of you guys who want to make sure that when you are playing in the game, you have strength and you have power, right? But that also allows you to not injure yourself. I tore my hip as a 15-year-old while sprinting, like I was a track runner. And it was simply because like I was overloading or firing from a certain position that my body wasn't trained to handle. So I was naturally fast, but I wasn't even as strong as I should be. Those small resistance bands, if like I said, I'll post some videos. If you guys learn some of the routines that can help you develop the outside of your hips, that'll go a long way to help the rest of your body feel good. And then another great thing you guys should look at getting, and all this stuff is cheap. Nothing I've said is over 15 bucks. Toe spacers are like 10 bucks. A good resistance band or a set of resistance bands is like $15 on Amazon. The third thing is a foam roller. Got to get yourself a foam roller. There's no point in spending hundreds of dollars going to get a massage or to have a stranger like trying to do some, deep tissue work or soft tissue work when you can just take a simple foam roller from Walmart or wherever you go shopping, put it in your bag, get to the gym, and just roll out. You can roll your calf muscles, your hamstrings, your quads. It's great for when you're sore, but you still got to go to work. And it's also for even if you're not sore, just making sure that your muscles are elongated, right? Your muscles are elastic. So they get stronger, obviously, as you're lifting weights because they're contracting, but you don't want them to stay tight. That's why you feel sore. So foam roller is great for anybody out there who's trying to battle soreness or just get through a long season. There's plenty of other stuff, but I think you should just start with those three. I think those three would be great.
Excellent birthday gift, excellent Christmas gift.
For
I
sure.
know, we're gonna make sure we get some videos out in regards to those things, man. When we first met each other, the first thing that Bake, when I say Bake, Gannon Baker, put us on was that foam roller and that resistance band. I'm looking right now. I got them hanging right there. I got the foam roll over there. I think I got about 5 different foam rolls.
Yeah. You
know
got
what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, like as trainers, most people say, well, I'm gonna train you for an hour. To be honest with you, real training is anywhere about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
If you're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
If you're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Because that's, if you're not incorporating the time where a kid can foam roll, resistant bands, you got some problems.
Yeah, I don't want to talk trash about no trainers, but if you are just doing basketball drills and then they just go home, you're not warming them up, you're not cooling them down, you're not doing anything for their athleticism. Good luck to your player if they play any of my kids, because my kids, they just gonna feel better than your kid feels. They're gonna, like their bodies are gonna be able to go farther because what is it? Availability is the best ability, right? That's the old saying.
Availability is the best ability.
Yeah, so if you're tight, you can't compete.
So we're gonna post that. We're gonna post the Golden State Warriors rest test that they did article. But I will say this, Cole. I will say this. The Florida Gators need to hear your they need to hear what you had to say tonight, because your Florida Gators, when they meet my boys, the Crimson Tide, and we foam roll, we hit the resistant bands.
We can foam roll all we want. We can buy 100,000 resistance bands. Man, it's gonna take a lot more than that, man. Oh God, dog.
Because your Florida Gators need availability.
We need redemption, sanctification, righteousness. We need the Holy Spirit. We need it all, man. We need Tim Tebow to come back.
Tim Tebow come out of
Urban
retirement.
Meyer.
Hey, try to get him some extra years of eligibility. So
We're gonna
hey,
do the
look,
O-line.
I want to thank you all so night for tuning in to the Sunday night conversation. It's your boy T Drake. It's my man co-host Korey Harris out of ATL. We just had another wonderful, exciting night to be with you all. Remember, next week we're going to be on Saturday night because I'm going to be traveling on Sunday, and we don't want to miss our cadence. Like last week, I got kind of thrown off, but we don't want to miss our cadence, so we want to make sure that instead of the Sunday night conversation next week, it's going to be the Saturday night conversation next week, all right? And then we'll be back on our regular, scheduled program on the Sunday nights. But hey, look, we had a wonderful time with you tonight. We thank you all so much for your comments. We thank you for tapping in with us. We thank you for tuning in with us. We'll be back next Saturday. Cole, what you got to say to the people, man?
Man, much love to everybody out there. Thank you so much for tuning in and your support. And keep the questions coming. When you guys are interacting with us, it obviously helps us to become better, and it challenges our thinking. If there's something you don't agree with, this is just an open conversation. So, please bring it. And then obviously, if there's something we could do better, it help us out a lot to know, just so that we can always be improving. But that's it, man. Nothing but gratitude from me.
Hey, that's it. As you all know, everybody wants the champion's power. Nobody wants the champion's pain. But in order to get the power, you got to go through the pain. So look, we'll see you next Saturday. Peace.
Yes, sir.